Good morning. Beware when I ask for a chair. That means I'm going to talk for a long time. I'll try not to talk for too long. So I'd like to welcome you to this year's Feeding of the Hungry Ghosts. This is an ancient ritual, goes back to the time of the Buddha. It has been carried out in Buddhist communities for 2,500 years. And here in Buddha Ai is no exception. I believe this is either the 20th or 21st Segaki that we have done here at 22nd and Garfield Street. Started out very humble in the old hall, which was about half the size of this hall, and at that time, my Dharma brother Koshin made the central flags, which are the names of five core Buddhas, and these flags that are hanging on top of the bamboo. And then over time, we created the other five colored flags, etc. Koshin also made this colorful paper that is sticking out of a loaf of bread, which in East Asia is usually a bowl, be like a big impression of rice. What do you call that, like when you make jello? A mold, yeah. So it's like that. You make a big mound of cooked rice, and that would be down it. But we decided that since we were in North America, we would use bread. So that's been our tradition ever since then. Anyway, I guess I just am getting nostalgic about all of those things because I'm feeling the expanse of time with which this practice is about. It's a celebration of abundance. And it is a reframing of greed. And I want to talk a little bit about that before we do the ritual work this morning, and then invite you to participate in this ritual in a very specific, reflective way about your own life and how it is framed through greed and framed through abundance. I become thoroughly convinced that our culture is in deep decline. And that we need a new way to the image of independence is killing us. We are unbelievably isolated. And we've got to find a way to shift. We've got to find a way to shift the image of independence to the image of interdependence. That our lives are not just simply our own, but that our lives are carried out together in cooperation with countless beings, countless other humans, but countless other beings that do not fit into the category of human. But this image of interdependence is not an abstraction. To talk about togetherness, to talk about wholeness, to talk about one world can be important, but it's so abstract. What do we actually do? How do we actually see the world? So that interdependence becomes the basis of how it is that we see. This is the purpose of Segaki. This is why this tradition has existed within the Buddhist faith and thrived and carried us for so long. To practice interdependence, to see interdependently means to face our greed squarely. The story at the base of the ceremonies or the ritual work today is a story of Ananda, who was one of the closest disciples of the Buddha Shakyamuni. And it's said that while in deep retreat, he was visited by greed, the embodiment of greed in a character named Enku, or blazing mouth. While he was in meditation in the middle of the night, a hungry ghost with fire in his mouth, skinny neck and swollen belly, appeared in front of Ananda, and he said, "Ananda, you will die in 3 days' time, and you will fall into my realm, the realm of the hungry ghosts." Ananda said, "Isn't there something that I can do?" And he said, "No, this is your karma." And Ananda asked again, he said, "Isn't there something I could do?" And Enku said, "There is one thing, but it's impossible. You have to feed all of us. You have to completely overcome greed in all of its qualities." And so Ananda went to the Buddha and told him the story, told him who he had encountered. And the Buddha said, "Don't worry. I know a way. I know a method, which I've learned from the Bodhisattva of compassion, Avalokitesvara, in the realm of complete contentment." And so they carried out the first Segaki, Ananda and the Buddha and the community that was gathered there together on retreat. What I want to point out about that story this morning is Enku was not an abstraction for Ananda. It wasn't an idea of wholeness which brought Ananda into the practice of offerings. It was an encounter with his own karma of greed. Hungry ghosts are the image of our day. Insatiable appetites we have. Insatiable appetites for rightness. Insatiable appetites for dopamine. I mean, we all carry around a device, almost all of us carry around a device, which is specifically designed to keep you triggered with dopamine responses. We pass them out to children. When our kids can't go to school, we say, "Oh, let's just all use this." We're in trouble. We're in trouble because that is the way that we're moving our society. That's the image that we're using. That's the technique we're using for keeping things going. I don't mean to blame anyone. I mean to blame everyone. And the thing about these instances of greed is they're all an incredibly poor replacement for true abundance. I'll say that again. They're all an incredibly poor replacement for true abundance. And you know that. I know that. And yet, I'll turn from facing this greed squarely again and again. And so that's why we come together year after year to say, how do we face Enku squarely? How do we see the image of our own greed and let it inform us about what it means to make an offering? Because after all, Enku is not just a demon. He's a teacher. He's Ananda's teacher. He is Avalokitesvara. He is the Bodhisattva of compassion showing up in this form, this difficult form, which we all know. We know it in the clench inside of our hearts. And so the hungry ghosts, these clenchings, these greeds, they are also our teachers if we listen to them carefully. Listening to them is different than indulging. Listening to them is feeling for the lack that we feel, the kind of hole that we feel is there in our heart, and then making an offering receiving an offering. Actualizing that giving and receiving are not really separate things. You can experience this very directly. When you give a gift, when you give an offering, just very simply, you know it, right? Like you hand an apple to someone, or like this evening, maybe you'll give a Snickers bar to a ghost, right? And when you do that in a very simple, straightforward way, there's a doorway that opens up that goes both directions. You're not independent. And you know it in your heart that you are interdependent. That's what I'm talking about here. So I'd like to invite you this morning, after a little bit of fire and brimstone talk, to engage this ritual with your full sincerity and openness of your heart. And to do that, when I finish talking here shortly, I'll go to change my robes, and there's some small slips of paper and some pencils. And as the bells and things are ringing and we're getting ready for the ritual work that we'll do together, I'd invite everyone to write something on this piece of paper. What is the face of Enku which is there in your heart this morning? Just write it on there. It doesn't have to be like a essay. It can just be a couple words that are meaningful to you that identify what that Enku is. Right? What is that grasping that you know is your teacher, but you're not sure what it means to transform? What do you take without regard for who else it is impacting? Where are you stuck in your independence? Just reference that. And then you can come up here, fold it, and place it here on the altar. Anywhere is fine. So when we start the ritual, everyone's enku should be here, gathered on the altar for the spirits. And then through the ritual work that we do together this morning, we will nourish. We will make an offering, and that is the key to transforming those hungry ghosts, which is transforming ourselves. Does that make sense? Anything you need in terms of tech setup? Are we going to need this anymore? I don't think so. Maybe at the end. Mitchell will announce the names of people who have died. I'm going to like it, but it's great. Okay, I don't think so then. Right.
Whenever you're finished, please stand up and come put them on the altar. And just all around on the second and first levels are pretty good, so they'll just be big piles of them. Have no fear. have some paper, some like freshly printed sutras of the chants we'll be doing today. And if you would like to chant along, there's also a copy in the book that we can hand out to everyone. So that starts on page 40, and then it goes to a portion that starts on page 66 or so. There it is, 68. Page 40 and 68. So we'll hand those out now. If anyone would like them, please raise your hand, and we'll bring them around to everyone. We should have enough for everyone. So that's page 40, and then page 68. And there are some little things that are different from this ritual. This is the one we do on more of a daily basis. So just pay attention, and there'll be a few twists and curves in there, but you should be able to follow along pretty well. And there'll also be a portion in the ceremony where the whole assembly is invited to come up and make incense offerings. So it'll be very clear when that happens. Some people will come around and start rousing you to your feet. And so please come forward, and you can crowd the altar a little bit. You can make a line. It'll be a bit of a scrum here at the altar, and that's totally fine. So please come up, and children are also invited. So we can all just make our way up here, make those. And there's places for people to do that on both sides of the altar. Thank you.
Anybody else in the book?
마가하냐 하라미다 We reverently offer the myriad Jew. Great benefactor and founder of the doctrine, the original teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. To the countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that permeate the myriad world. To the eternal three jewels in the 10 directions, that we may repay their compassionate blessings, we further offer this marriage to all the Dharma-protecting devas, to the Dharma-protecting saints, to the earth spirit of this place, to the temple-protecting spirits. May we with all beings realize the Buddha way.
Gathered here today, October 31st, 2021, the Assembly of Buddha-ai Temple humbly enacts these offerings of food to myriad spirits throughout the three worlds. May our pure intention for liberation find expression in these rites, and may we, together with all beings, overcome the heart of lack and find our place in the pure realms of abundance. Stop, ghosts of swollen belly and gnashing teeth. Do not fear the light. Your presence is compassion, dispensing medicine with blood, with pus, with fire. Through the sacred gateway, an offering. Beyond grasping, it moves. In all directions, an awakened body, impossible to measure.
Homage to the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, great love and great compassion, reliever of suffering. Homage to the venerable Ananda, reciter of the teachings. Homage to the Buddhas of the 10 directions. Homage to the Dharma of the 10 directions. Homage to the Sangha of the 10 directions. Homage to the original teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, of great love and great compassion, reliever of suffering. Homage to the venerable Nanda, reciter of the teachings. By all the members of this assembly, our hearts set on awakening, we offer this gift of pure food to you, hungry from every corner of the Dharma realm, from every country and land without number. You departed long ago. Gather here, come all you spirits, from earth gods of mountains and rivers to demons and rays of the barren ways. Accept this food given in love and compassion. We pray that each of you in turn offers this gift to all Buddhas, all holy ones, and sentient beings throughout space and time. May all be equally satisfied. May your bodies, nourished by this Dharani food, gain liberation and leave suffering behind. May you attain the joy of celestial birth. May you be delivered to one of the lands. May your heart be set on awakening, and may you practice the path of liberation. May you never stray from the path, but instead become Buddhas, unattaining the way. May you vow to liberate all others, and may you day and night without cease protect us and string our prayers and we dedicate the merit of this gift of food to all sentient beings of the Dharma realm. May all beings live in harmony, and together with us may all dedicate these blessings to the pure spirit of suchness, to supreme all-knowing awakening. Together with all sentient beings may we swiftly become Buddhas, and may we seek no further reward with these and rights to guide us. May all sentient beings swiftly become Buddha. Noble Bodhi Gari Dari Dada Yadaya Noble Bodhi Gari Dari Yadaya Noble Bodhi Gari Dari Dada Yadaya Humbo Deni Yadari Dada Yadaya Humbo Deni Yadari Dada Yadaya Humbo Deni Yadari Yadaya no Magusarabata Yadumara Gide on Samara Samara no Magusarabata Yadumara Gide on Samara Samara no Magusarabata Yadumara Gide on Samara Samara Zoro zoro ara zoro zuwaga no maguzamanda buddha namba 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 no maguzam Namo Namba No Magazamba 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 Namo Namba No yami.
Ommo jishita Buddha dayami.
Ombo jishita Buddha dayami.
Ommo jishita Buddha dayami.
Ombo jishita Buddha dayami.
Sammaya Sattvam.
Sammaya Sattvam.
Sammaya Sattvam.
Sammaya Sattvam.
Sammaya Sattvam.
Sammaya Sattvam. Lomagu Sarabhata Yadananon Biyora Yarabe Mani Yarabe Dada Dani Dajani Mani Mani Loarabe Bimare Shagara Gemmire Nunjinmara Jimmara Bola Virogine Gugaji Juna Yarabe Soaga Om Mani Vajire Om Mani Dade Umbada no Magu Sarabhata Yadananon Biyora Yarabe Mani Yarabe Dada Dani Dajani Mani Mani Soarabe Bimare Shagara Gemmire Jimbara Jimbara Bola Virogine Gugaji Juna Yarabe Soaga Mani Vajire Om Mani Dare Umbada no Magu Sarabhata Yadananon Biyora Yarabe Mani Yarabe Dada Dani Dajani Mani Mani Soarabe Bimare Shagara Gemmire Jimbara Jimbara Bola Virogine Gugaji Juna Yarabe Soaga Om Mani Vajire Om Mani Dare Umbada Om Yabe Rojano Maga Bola Mani Majivara Hara Bari Raya Ora Oyabe Rojano Maga Bola Mani Ando Majivara Hara Bari Raya Ora Oyabe Rojano Maga Bola Mani Ando Majivara Hara Bari Raya. With the good karma gathered in this practice, we repay the virtuous toil of our fathers and mothers, and a living may be blessed with joy and long life without distress, and the disease free from suffering, and born in the pure land. May the poor benefactors, sentient beings in the three classes of existence, and those born in the three evil destinies and eight difficulties, all be able to repent their transgressions, purify their defects, entirely escape the round of rebirth, and be born in the pure land. May this merit extend universally to all, so that we together with all beings realize the Buddha way. Om Buddha, throughout space and time, all 101 Bodhisattvas, Bodhisattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Prajnam Para. The meaning of practice and verification, making the vow to benefit beings. To arouse the thought of enlightenment is to vow to save all beings before saving ourselves, whether layperson or monk, whether a deva or a human, whether suffering or at ease, we should quickly form the intention of first saving others before saving ourselves. Through a humble appearance, one who has formed this intention is all a teacher of all the beings. Even a girl of 7 is a teacher to the fourfold assembly, a compassionate father to living beings. Do not make an issue of male and female. This is a most wondrous principle of the way of the Buddha. After arousing the thought of enlightenment, even though we cycle through the 6 destinies and 4 modes of birth, the circumstances of this cycling themselves are all the practice of the vow of enlightenment. Therefore, although until now we may have vainly idled away our time, we should quickly make the vow that the present life has passed, even if we have acquired a full measure of merit sufficient to become a Buddha. We turn it over, dedicating it to living beings that they may become Buddhas and attain the way. There are some who practice for countless kalpas, saving living beings first before saving Buddhas. They only save beings and benefit beings. There are 4 kinds of wisdom that benefit living beings: giving, kind speech, beneficial deeds, and cooperation. These are the principles of the vow of the Bodhisattva. Giving means not to covet. In principle, although nothing is truly one's own, this does not prevent us from giving. Do not disdain even a small offering. Its giving will surely bear fruit. Therefore, we should give even a line or a verse of the Dharma, sowing good seeds for this life and other lives. We should give even a penny or a single blade of grass resources, establishing good roots for this world and other worlds. The Dharma is a resource, and resources are the Dharma. Without coveting reward or thanks from others, we simply share our strength with them. Hiding ferries and building bridges are also the perfection of giving. Earning a living and producing goods are fundamentally nothing other than giving. Kind speech means when living beings, we think kindly of them and offer them affectionate words. To speak with a feeling of tenderness toward living beings as if they were one's own infant is what is meant by kind speech. We should praise the virtuous and pity the virtueless. Kind speech is fundamental to mollifying one's enemies and fostering harmony among one's friends. Hearing kind speech to one's face brightens one's and pleases one's heart. Hearing kind speech indirectly leaves a deep impression. We should realize that kind speech has the power to move the heavens. Beneficial deeds means to devise good ways of benefiting living beings, whether noble or humble. Those who encountered the trap of the tortoise bird simply perform beneficial deeds for them, without seeking their reward or thanks. The foolish believe that their own instinct will suffer the benefits of others first. This is not the case. Beneficial deeds are one universally benefiting self and other. Cooperation means not to differentiate, to make no distinction between self and others. It is, for example, like the human Tathagata, who was the same as other human beings. There is a way of understanding such that we identify others with ourselves, and when we identify ourselves with others. Self and other are not boundaries. The ocean does not reject any water. This is cooperation. It is because of this water collects and becomes an ocean. In sum, we should calmly reflect on the fact that practice is the vow of arousing the thought of enlightenment as such principles. We should not be too hasty here. We are working to save others, to respect the merit that allows all living beings to receive guidance. And may tiku kanon yo kanji oda Thank you. permeates the Dharma world, accords with conditions, harmonizes with perceptions, is never hindered, and always dwells on the seat of enlightenment. With reverence to the triple treasure, we humbly receive the mirror's illumination. Having made offerings of incense, light, flowers, food, and tea, and having recited the meaning of practice and verification, making the vow to benefit beings and the Enmeijiku Kanonyo, we dedicate the marriage.
Great teacher Shinzan Miyame. Great teacher Hakuryu Sojun Daiyosho. Great teacher Taihaku Nichiren. Janet Hurley, Billy Berger, Tesla Walsh Triplet, Lenore Hill, Roger Canoy, Tamaris Landsman, Christine Phillips, Sharon Epstein, Melrose Wheeler, Priscilla Tronner, Dolores Getler, John Lepanto, William McMaster Sr., Sarah Francis Gregory, John Bodell, Connor Troy, Andy Yoder, Conrad Coulter, Stephen Lampert, Roger Beck, Dante Wright, Julia Oliver Mullins, Silas Strimple, Andrew Piercy, Harry Hall, Donna Howell, James Robert Hutchinson, Tim Grimes, Jason Thomas, Valerie Gutierrez, Barbara Gladstein, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, Estolia Ramirez, Betty Jo Hudson Stanley, Chick Corea, Judy Wood, Gary Gruel, Sam Barrett, Miyoko Hirata, Faith Bybee, Evelyn Leedy, Adriana Lorenzo, Corey Johnson, Jack Mathis, Dustin Higgs, Leo Robichaud, Barry Lopez, Dorothy Bishop, Michael Young, Lisa Montgomery, David Darling, Mary Beth Wickender, Mary Lee Herrer, Dave Schenderline, Sarah Schenderline, Dennis Wright, Deborah Dudley, Scott Chastain, Garrett Faraci, Sheila Ita Brown, Alex Trebek, Karenia Cox, Sean Connery, Frank Matthew, Herman Leslie Graham III, Walter Wallace Jr., Beverly Marshman, Holly Hess, Katie Steger, Eldon Cayley, Jeff McKnight, Nellie, Emil Shea Locke, Bob Mercer, Ruby Meyer, Jean Wagner, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, John Oxenford, Tan Ming Jia, those who died in the West Coast wildfires, those killed in the conflict in the Caucasus Mountains, those killed in the protest in Lagos, Nigeria, those killed in the shooting in Rockford, Illinois, those who died due to the Capitol riot, those who died in the car crash in Dallas, Texas, those killed in the shooting in Atlanta, Georgia, those killed in the shooting in Boulder, Colorado, those killed in the protests in Myanmar, those killed in the volcanic eruption in Goma, those killed in the violence in Israel, Palestine, those killed in the condominium disaster in Miami-Dade, Florida, those who have died due to the bombing in Kabul, Afghanistan, those who died by coronavirus, into the spirits of all those who have passed over this past year. May our paths of awakening intertwine, and may all suffering be overcome.
And to all beings in the 3 worlds and 6 realms, We pray that the taste of the Dharma may abundantly fill the world, and that all beings may fully realize the womb of wisdom, carry out the path of compassion, and attain the Buddha way.
Yay!